In 1998, three young developers, Kaspar Mille Nielsen, Christian Oelund, and Brian Fuller, inspired by Quake and its modding capabilities, conceived an idea for a military first-person shooter. While not a novel concept by today's standards, back then this was almost unheard of. But as development progressed, something happened. Half-Life came out. Seeing the opportunity to improve what they already had, ambitions grew and the project was restarted. Then, on April of 2000, Firearms was released to the public and there was nothing quite like it. At first, when starting a match, you get to choose a class, a familiar sight to some, but this is no class-based shooter. They are simply pre-made loadouts and customizing your own is an option. There's a multitude of weapons and utility to choose from. Then select a skill, and into the fray. The gameplay is not like the typical frantic arena shooter or tactical FPS. Your moves must be precise and calculated. Jumping and sprinting quickly depletes stamina, and openly exposing yourself without a thought makes for easy frags. Weapon spread is atrocious, so running and gunning is not recommended, and neither is holding full auto. Being prone provides the best accuracy, but standing crouched and tap shooting is good enough too. Just make use of cover. Weapons reload is very slow, and ammo is limited, so every bullet counts. Automatic weapons firing mode can be changed between 2 to 3 types. Reload is done by manually pressing the key, and switching between your inventory is a slog. All intentional. Besides taking damage by bullets or explosions, falling from too high risks breaking a leg, slowing down movement, and getting shot can often cause bleeding, so having a bandage is advised. A benefit to performing well is ranks during the match. Each level up grants an additional skill of your choice that can help in the field. Firearms is punishing, but playing your cards right can be rewarding. As for maps, it's pretty simple. Search and destroy deathmatch style. Push, or bro do you even cap, is about capturing areas until the enemy's points are drained. Objective maps involve completing an elaborate mission. What exactly they are depends on the map, but I assume these were the least popular. We can go ahead and say it. Yeah, this is like Call of Duty, while predating its existence by a few years. I know it might sound redundant and obvious, but realism here was a very important point. But that does not detract from the experience. You can only go so far with the engine, and sometimes I did feel like the hitboxes were not right. You get used to it, but Gold Source jank aside, being able to customize your character in so many ways to create your own playstyle was a first. To the point of having different armor grades and covering your limbs separately, of course, at the expense of credits for other equipment. This game brought gun fanatics and war enthusiasts alike in one place. The many mechanics and precise shooting made for satisfying gameplay. As you might expect, the reception to this mod was beyond positive. PC Gamer US named it the best mod of 2000. It was the third most popular Gold Source mod, right behind Team Fortress and Counter-Strike. Speaking of, Firearms was even featured as a bonus in the original US retail copy of CS. There was a dedicated website and forum, keeping everything in touch, a Firearms league for organized clan matches. The dev team had also expanded. Things were looking splendid so far, and updates continued polishing. In ModDB's mods of 2002, it was mentioned as a labor of love for its continued development. It almost seems like it's destined for success. What you've been seeing so far is specifically Firearms 3.0, the final version which came out in 2005. It's the most refined and is compatible with Steam. The previous 2.5 is relatively the same with most of the mechanics and weapons. Then there's 1.0, redundant and primitive, exactly what you would expect. There are more in-between versions I don't know of, but even with the ones I mentioned, there aren't any significant changes worth pointing out. Now this does beg the question, why did it stop there? Well, you might think it moved on to Source, since now Half-Life 2 is out, and it's where the story gets interesting. By this point, Firearms was still popular, perhaps its peak. On the other hand, it was maybe lagging behind its contemporaries due to the slow updates. Some thought this meant a source port or continuation was coming, but according to the web archives, on August 3rd, 2005, the official FA website and forum suddenly redirected to a teaser for worldatwarmod.com. That was later revealed to be an ambitious new project by the team to create a thrilling war simulator, developed on the Source engine with new mechanics, plans for drivable vehicles, tanks, calling for airstrikes, and much more. Sure, it all seems close to Firearms, but it's no sequel, a spiritual successor at best. Now, why jump from one project into another so suddenly and redirect an entire website? It's not completely out of the ordinary because management has changed hands and developers came and went. The original creators have moved on to greener pastures a while ago, and the new people at the helm had different aspirations. Still, making the fanbase abandon what they signed up for and accept or support a rebrand was not a good move. Don't worry though, a Source version of Firearms does exist. It ties into the drama that will ensue. The first instance started in late 2004. A team of fans began work on Firearms Revival. This was not approved by the actual FA team, and after some back and forth, it was agreed they can make whatever they want, just without their name, so it changed to Fireteam Incursion. Then later in 2006 came Firearms Source by a former FA team member, David Hitman Reeves, who did have permission to use the name and port maps, plus they merged with the Incursion team. What happened to this mod, we'll talk later. For now, there's a more important event that took place. So to start off, the FA website and forum did that whole sudden rebrand redirect to World at War because apparently the website was hijacked in a hostile takeover. Admins were locked out. The perpetrators were known members of the community who wanted to take the IP for themselves, steal all the data and source code from the server since they had access to the FTP to kickstart Firearms 2. This greatly upset the FA team and they contemplated taking legal action on the matter. Due to the seriousness of the situation, Eric Zerk Smith, a former team leader, was contacted because he had some ownership of the brand. A cease and desist was sent out, but unfortunately no legal action could be taken against the theft of intellectual property online. So instead of fighting, Eric gave the FA2 team his approval and became an advisor to the project. The real FA team did not like this outcome because someone was getting credit for their work. Stolen valor, so to say, but circumstances had to be accepted. This recounting of events is described in a farewell post on the FA website dated June 21st, 2006. Yeah, the site was rebuilt from archives just for this message to be posted. Firearms 2 had their own webpage and forum, where a response was eventually made denouncing some of the more egregious claims as slanderous. Website hijacking was not denied, but resources were not stolen and their mod is completely made from the ground up. Alas, these posts were made on the forum and not archived, so I'm just piecing it together to the best of my ability from any information I could find elsewhere. If you're wondering why the hijacking was even necessary, it was either an attempt to preserve the brand from being buried or as a bargaining chip. Was there any code stolen? Are the intentions justified? I don't know. All I have are perspectives. The truth is somewhere out there. Anyway, development of Firearms 2 proceeded as usual with frequent updates. Some former members even joined on this project. There was some gameplay footage, but it never materialized into a public release build. Maybe the controversy lost them credibility. There's zero info I could find. It just disappeared somewhere in 2009. Around this time, guess what? Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Battlefield exist, and there was no way to compete with them. At least, that's my theory. As for good old World at War, it was a planned project that ended up rushing its reveal. Not much progress was made though, updates became rare until it also withered away into nothingness without as much as a whimper. And that brings us back to Firearms Source. After many years of changing team members and persistence, in 2010, a playable build was made public. Hallelujah, but at this point, I don't know, man. COD Black Ops is right there. Not sure if I can be bothered. All jokes aside, better late than never, right? The game is more or less a port, using CS Source as a basis. The signature loadout configuration is present, now with a slick menu and ability to save presets, same game modes, and some new maps. No more legs breaking from falling too high, weapon fire mode can still be switched between semi and auto or merging magazines with the addition of toggling the bipod if available. Recoil works similarly, but spread isn't as random and all over the place. Bullets always go where your crosshair is no matter the position, making it relatively easy to control. Not sure if intentional, but it feels good. Skills are more refined and straightforward. Medkits can be applied on teammates if you have them, but sadly, there are no bots nor any players. Quality of life improvements are nice, but it never went anywhere. There were only a few small patches, a 2.0 alpha containing fixes and balancing, then things went quiet as the website collected dust, followed by death. How popular was FA Source? Looking at the ModDB reviews and people reminiscing about it, I'd say it may have been relatively successful, but simply remaking a classic in a new engine isn't enough. Forget about the fact it came too late. The evident lack of updates, much less a vision for innovation, left us with a dated product that couldn't survive the gaming landscape. And that's it. I don't exactly believe Firearms was destined for greatness. It all depended on the creator's vision, but seeing the positive recognition it got early on, maybe it could have been the chosen one. It did come with creative ideas no other mod had, but in the long run, it was plagued with changing directions, development issues, and drama. Meanwhile, modding and gaming in general moved on, leaving Firearms in the dust. I'm sure out there are similar stories to this because game development is a team effort, but this mod in particular has a fall from grace worth telling. Alright, time for me to buzz off and think about how to invert a sphere. Call me stupid, but I think it's possible. Just a matter of someone figuring it out someday, and I want to be the one.